Throughout this debate process, I was able to enhance my understanding of school funding based upon property tax, as well as learn from my peers to see all sides of this highly contentious topic. The first question asks, in what ways did researching and debating your particular ethical issue shift your thinking, beliefs, and/or teaching philosophy? I believe this debate truly opened my eyes to the fact that our education system is set up to promote certain populations while excluding others from success, as referenced in the Biddle and Berliner 2002 piece. When public school funding is based upon property tax, it allows wealthy areas with higher home values to serve their children with the resources necessary to achieve academic success. Those in less privileged areas, specifically serving children of color and or those of low socioeconomic status, are stuck in districts which almost plan for their failure. The next question asks us, how will having participated in the debate process affect your actions in the future? I believe participating in this debate made me realize that as an educator, I must continue to expand my knowledge on ethical issues as such that impact our public education system. For example, before I participated in this process, I had no idea as to the inequities that existed in school-based funding. So even though I attempt to provide my students with a great education in the classroom each day when I see them, there are large factors, both systematically and at the core of our education system, that impact the very children I attempt to uplift. So expanding my knowledge on other inequities that might exist will allow me to better prepare and mitigate the impacts they might have in the classroom environment. The next question asks us, did any of your teammates make arguments that changed your thinking about this ethical issue? I believe that Tejas, his argument in particular, made me consider the oppositional side of this argument. And initially approaching this debate topic, I thought really it could only be seen from one side in terms of equity. But Tejas said that property taxes should be grouped and then distributed in a weight-based manner in which a school's need and their number of students would decide the amount of funding that would be received in each educational institution. And so Tejas's approach would tackle the large issue of inequitable discrepancies that might exist across states in terms of pooling and then distributing those economic supports based upon a school's distinctive needs. And he also argued that local property taxes are a stable source of funding as compared to other revenues that public schools can rely upon. And again, this is another great point, as many of the other alternatives to property taxes can be quite risky and might result in students having even less resources in certain circumstances. The next question asks us, are there any thoughts about this issue that you did not have the chance to share during the debate? I believe that the main point that I didn't get to share during the debate is that funding truly impacts the quality of education a child will or will not have. As referenced in the Welsh 2015 article, in terms of resources such as physical buildings, books, technology, experienced educators and staff, and extracurricular activities, as well as school enrichment programs, this is truly dependent on funding. And so this reliance on property taxes really makes the determining factor in a child's success their geographical location. And so for this reason, I feel the position I defended aligned with my ethical core values. I noted a specific example from Turner 2016 in Chicago, where school districts that were located just an hour apart had almost a $20,000 difference in annual per child expenditures. This resulted in the students of color in the low-income area lacking the resources required for their success, while the predominantly white school had a higher budget as well as more resources to allow for higher degrees of academic achievement. And so this means that the quality of a child's education is largely decided by the state as well as the specific municipality in which they reside. And so even at the core, this arrangement is simply flawed and unjust, as all individuals should have equitable access to a worthy education. that is not dependent upon where they grew up, where they live, which town they reside in, or any of those geographical factors as I referenced earlier. The next question asks us, how does this ethical issue have an impact on you as an educator, and how does it affect your students? And so this issue really made me think about the reason the children I teach walk into our school every day and lack the basic resources necessary for them to succeed. As noted previously, I teach in a very low-income school, and so because of our lack of funding, partially due to property taxes, we haven't had our library updated in over 15 years. We lack the technology students need to push their learning. And quite frankly, we also have a building that is nearly falling apart. So which just goes to kind of re-emphasize all the points that I covered in my debate speech. And so the very last question asks us, do you plan on taking action related to this ethical issue? If so, what do you intend to change? And if not, why is this the case? And so I plan to take steps to learn how the public school system in DC is specifically impacted by this. In doing my research, I know some localities and states specifically had funding inequities that were particularly severe. And additionally, I want to know how public charter schools fit into this equation, right? Because these are a bit different from purely public schools. They are independently run, but they do receive significant amounts of public fiscal support. Therefore, I hypothesize that property tax funding would also have a negative impact on the education of the students I teach, as I mentioned earlier. Thank you so much.